Motorola is one of the most iconic phone makers of all time, and it's produced a wealth of fantastic phones over the years. Recently, it's been on something of a streak too, with a run of well-designed, well-spec'd devices that have impressed us in reviews. The brand also everything from classic candy bar smartphones to clamshells that we think are some of the best foldable phones you can buy. So, whatever handheld you're looking for, you'll likely find one to suit your needs amidst its lineup. With the variety of Motorola phones out there, choosing the right one can be tricky. That's why in this video, I'll be walking you through the top 6 Motorola phones that really stand out this season. To make things easier, I've included links to the best deals for each product down in the description. Keep in mind, the Motrolla phones aren't ranked in any specific order, so stick around until the end to get the full picture. So without further ado, let's dive in. Number 6. Motorola Moto G23 5G. The Moto G53 5G is one of those phones you purchase because it is very cheap, offers 5G support, and has a 120Hz display. For anything else, think camera, fast charging, even mobile contactless payments, you'll have to look elsewhere. At a 170 in the UK though, it's a compelling buy for people who just want the basics. And online reviews on retailers show buyers raving about the sheer value. Reviewing the Moto G53 5G, we found that Motorola made careful choices here to hit that low price point. The 120Hz refresh rate helps keep navigation smooth, and the phone felt nice to hold. There's even microSD support, a useful feature that's been losing presence in smartphones as higher base storage and cloud storage options both work to make that unnecessary in higher priced phones. It is a phone that costs more than a little under $200 though, so you'll have to keep that in mind as you evaluate the camera, the plastic build, and the low-resolution display. Overall, it's hard to outright recommend Motorola's Moto G53, as the only things it really has going for it is a long-lasting battery and an incredibly low price. There are too many other shortcomings in virtually all other areas to make this a truly standout device. This becomes more apparent when you consider its competition, such as the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, which gives you a full HD display, a beefier processor, and an equally long-lasting battery for just a little more cash. Number 5. Motorola Razr 2022. The Motorola Razr 2022 addresses the issues of its predecessor. It has a 6.7-inch notch-free Full HD Plus POLED panel that looks great with a barely noticeable crease in the display. Ideal for split-screen multitasking and media, the Motorola Razr 2022 exudes style as you use it, thanks to that foldable design. A 144Hz refresh rate should mean it's ideal for gaming, although its Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip is unusually stuttery at times, suggesting poor optimization somewhere along the line. Despite that, the Motorola Razr 2022 is still attractive, thanks to its clean interface, decent battery life for a clamshell foldable, and a surprisingly good camera, in the form of a large 50MP wide sensor with OIS and a 13MP ultra-wide lens. Throw in the in-display 32MP selfie camera, and this older Razr makes for a pleasant dip in the foldable pool. The Razr has since been superseded by the Razr 2023, sold as the Razr 40 in some markets. As Motorola sells it at a discount currently, it still deserves a place on our list for the time being. The Motorola Razr 2022 shows that the company recognizes the challenges its predecessors have faced, and addresses them all to make a truly worthwhile addition to the series, even if it's not quite as competitive as its main rival. Number 4. Motorola Edge 30 Ultra. The Motorola Edge 30 Ultra is fantastic value for a flagship phone. It has a high-end Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor that's ideal for power-hungry processes as well as gaming. A 144Hz refresh rate on its 6.67-inch FHD Plus display looks great for all content from streaming to browsing online. A glass front and back with a metal frame ensures it looks expensive and premium too. Reviewing the Motorola Edge 40 Pro, we felt it was quite reminiscent of the Edge 30 Ultra. Luckily, Motorola and other retailers have kept this phone around somewhat, and you're able to save some money now that it's been about a year. A 200MP main camera is potentially overkill for most people, but it's a cool-sounding selling point and produces generally bright and colorful images. The presence of fast charging with very good battery life will please most users. Rounding things off nicely is near-stock Android 12, now updated to Android 13, ensuring you get a nice, clean, customizable interface. The Motorola Edge 30 Ultra is the best value flagship phone of 2022, with super fast charging, a powerful processor, a premium design, a good-looking screen, clean software, and more. It's hard to find negatives with the device because Moto has gone all out in every department. Number 3. Motorola Edge 40. The Motorola Edge 40 is the smaller counterpart to the Edge 40 Pro and the nicer feeling of the Duo. It's incredibly thin and light at a time when most phones are moving towards thicker and heavier. And it has excellent battery and charging despite all that. As with all Motorola phones, the software is clean and reminiscent of Google's Pixel phones. The MediaTek Dimensity chip is here to save costs, and it does so rather excellently, preserving power while maximizing performance and efficiency. MediaTek is no longer the black mark it once was. It has a couple of flaws, most notably the average cameras. That's a Motorola flaw, and one you'd have to deal with if you're going to enjoy this phone. It's also likely to be a victim of Motorola's inconsistent software update policy. That is to say, you'll get updates. When? Well, that's up for debate. Depending on where you are, it may be available far more widely than the Motorola Edge 40 Pro, and at a more attractive price. It is not currently being sold in the US. In the meantime, you can consider the Motorola Edge 30 Fusion as a similar US alternative. It has a premium design and looks really close to the Edge 40, and was crafted at a time when Motorola started adopting that design language. It's a year old now, but that means you can get it for around $300 should you want it. Number 2. Motorola Razr Plus. The Motorola Razr Plus, sold globally as the Motorola Razr 40 Ultra, is the nicest Motorola foldable released so far, and one of the best clamshell foldables to come out this year as a whole. In our review, we described it as a major evolutionary step for smartphones, one that goes beyond what previous ones have offered. With the Galaxy Z Flip 5 out, that's not necessarily so sure anymore, but it matters little. The Razr Plus stands on its own as an excellent phone. When unfolded, it's so thin as to recall the original Razr, while the huge display means your content receives the breathing room it deserves. When the display is closed, a large square external screen offers access to select apps that still encourage you to get off your phone so as to preserve the concept of these clamshell foldables, while still allowing you access to content. There are a few flaws here, but none that we can't forgive. The older processor, still serviceable right now. Slower updates. As we noted with the Edge 40 Pro, that's not as important in today's market as it once was. It's a razor-thin clamshell phone, and that's still awesome. Number 1. Motorola Edge 40 Pro. The Motorola Edge 40 Pro is the absolute best Motorola smartphone released so far. The company manages to keep pace with all the latest specs, including the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, large amounts of RAM and storage, and a super bright screen paired with a high refresh rate. After reviewing it, we feel it's the closest thing you'll get to a Pixel-like experience without buying one of Google's Pixel handsets. It could even be better when one considers the advantages Qualcomm's chips have over Google's, its incredible stamina, and the very fast charging. 2 flaws we can note. Though the camera isn't the best, it is very good, and the versatility of its sensors, plus the ability for raw capture, means you can tweak whatever the camera gives out. The second flaw, Motorola isn't the best at delivering timely Android OS updates as Google. With Google moving away from that model, that may not be the deal breaker it once was.